Hi, Joe and Josh from PH Tennis, and it's a big day today.
Big day.
Because we've got one of the most famous ranges of rackets in the world. Iconic ranges. Used by Pete Sampras, Roger Federer,
Dan Evans, Alfie Hewitt.
Exactly. And that is the Wilson Pro Staff.
Woohoo! The full Pro Staff range will now still have the RF at the top. I'm thinking that Wilson at some point will maybe do a legacy RF, new paint job, something quite cool. I'm guessing, but I think there's got to be something in the pipeline for that.
We've got here the 97, 315 gram classic. First impressions. Was slightly dubious about the desert brown, but like all of the Wilson new paint jobs, this is great. And it's colour shifting like the Blade and like the Ultra is. Yep. We played with it on a clay court in the bright sunshine, and it had that really like popping sort of orange come out of it. You can see the orange detail on the side. And then under lights later that evening, it had like a purple tinge as well, and some sort of green coming through. So again, beautiful racket. I'm never going to like it as much as the plain black Pro Staff, because I think plain black rackets are really cool, but it's a beautiful job.
I also think in our restring job here with the gold 4G soft has really set it off nicely looks wise.
So what's new in this racket? Well, very little in the 97, as you might imagine. It's a classic, why change too much? What they have got is paradigm bending.
What it is, it's actually named after it's a boating term, and it comes from the shape of the hull. Ah. So the idea is that the paradigm bending in the racket allows the head to flex more and therefore come round, and it's that shape, that kind of concave shape of a hull of a boat. That's what it's similar. So Wilson's idea is the Pro Staff 95, which was one of the most famous and popular Pro Staff, sort of trying to replicate the feel of that in the 97, in the new 97, and they did that by creating the same amount of flex, and it's the paradigm bending that is doing that.
Because it's the flex that was the big selling point of that 95, right?
Yeah, so
interesting.
That is paradigm bending. You heard it here first.
So in the spirit of Wilson's sort of move towards greater sustainability, obviously the Wilson Trinity and the Trinity Pro for their balls, the racket is made with better sustainable products, both in the butt cap, the grommets and the bumper. Sustainable. We've strung it up with some 4G soft, which if you watch our string review is one of our top strings. Beautiful string, loads of dwell time.
Dwell time.
So we've just come off court, we've been play testing the new Pro Staff, and I have here the 97, a 315 gram version. First impressions playing, really nice, especially on the front foot, especially when the ball was flatter and you were trying to kind of play through the court. It really gave some really nice feedback. As the Pro Staff kind of has always been, feel and precision are kind of there, accuracy. It goes where you want it to go, it goes where you expect it to go, and it's definitely got some flex to it, and yeah, so that makes it feel quite comfortable when you're using it.
Initial thoughts is it's a Pro Staff, very, very similar to the old one, the version 13, 12 and 11. It hasn't changed much, to be honest, over the last few iterations. Basically, I think Wilson take the approach of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a perfectly lovely racket.
It felt to me easier to use than the previous version. Pro Staff has always been a racket that I really wanted to be able to play with, but never felt that it was forgiving enough for me able to get away with it. And this feels slightly different. That might be because we tested this on clay, whereas often we're testing on Astro. That might have had an impact. The ball's sitting up a little bit more, it's a little bit slower. But I felt like this was much easier to get on with in the previous version. It's got all of those Pro Staff traits, right? It's very, very precise. Volleying's very, very crisp. But you are going to struggle to generate power unless your timing is spot on. And I think that's the reason that the Pro Staff is difficult. Is very rewarding when it's right, but very tricky if not. And this is no different really, albeit there's maybe slightly softer, slightly easy, slightly more maneuverable than the previous version.
Very specific, the type of people who can use it. the one thing I've always found with pro staffs, and it's no different with this, is it's so hard to get it right that you're almost a bit surprised when you do. So because of the smaller head size, it's got a smaller sweet spot, but a way more fun sweet spot, you could say. So when I'm playing with it, I try and trying and trying and trying, and then as soon as I get it, the ball just absolutely rockets away.
If you're a pro staff user, this isn't going to disappoint. This has got everything that you want and that you love in a pro staff already. And similarly, if you're kind of hedging a bet and you think like, I'd love to be playing with the pro staff 97, but not quite feeling like I'm getting it in the middle often enough, maybe give this a go, because it's got a little bit of something slightly easier to it. If you're trying to kind of rip a load of topspin, a little bit tougher. This is definitely for those cleaner, flatter hitters. Equally on serve, it was okay for first serves, but trying to hit like big kick serves was quite hard work, if I'm honest. Volleying though, so crisp. That's kind of a pro staff trait all the way through, but so comfortable, so easy. Yeah, when you nail it on a pro staff, you get all the benefits. And that was definitely true of this new version 14. It's a heavy racket, 315. So it's a heavy, small head, tiny sweet spot. It's going to be hard to use. So definitely a racket to try first. You've got to really make sure that you can make this racket work for you.
Okay, so we've just finished playing with the new Pro Staff version 14 97, and it's excellent. As you'd imagine, it's a Pro Staff. Very little has changed. We talked vaguely about the paradigm bending, and we're vague on it because there's very little information about it. I do think that whether that's the tech or whether that's just a slight change in the racket, this is slightly easier to play with. I found this easier than the previous version. I'm assuming that's because of the paradigm bending technology. But it still gives you all of that you want from a Pro Staff. It's deadly accurate. The ball goes exactly where you want it to when you get it right. And that's always been the issue for me with Pro Staffs, is that it's just very hard to get it right often enough to make the racket worthwhile for me. This is a Pro Staff in an absolute classic form. If you love a Pro Staff, you're gonna love it. If you don't, and you've struggled with them, this isn't gonna be a transition where suddenly you can play with a Pro Staff. For that, you probably wanna look at the X. Fantastic racket. Wish I could play with it. Wish I could be Federer. If you like this review, subscribe to our YouTube channel for all reviews as the rackets come out. We get our reviews out as soon as the rackets are available to us, which means we should be getting them out before they're available in the shops. Follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our channel for more reviews. It's got 13 minutes of memory card. No, I'm not fucking about.
Bonjour, je m'appelle.
Right. We're just going to pause there a second. You don't need to keep on leaning in. You're doing this, you're still in the frame, you don't need to see yourself. Okay, just look at this.
And obviously, the new is having the X version.
Stop leaning in.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's going to be a good blooper, isn't it? The other new...
Still leaning in! Don't look at yourself, just look at...